Hi everyone, welcome to the Whiteleyverse with me, Connor Whiteley, for another daily short story. Now, before I start today's story, please remember to like, comment and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new content, and the engagement really helps the Whiteleyverse with the YouTube algorithm. Also, if you want to buy this short story and any of my other fiction, then they're available from all major ebook retailers and at your local bookstore and local library if you requested, and you can order paperback copies from Amazon. Now, here's today's short story. I hope you enjoyed just as much as I did writing it.
An awful way to go. Some ways are worse than others. Kendra O'Connor, retired detective, went into her friend's massive living room and was instantly shocked at the amazingness of it all. She loved the massive baby blue sofa and two armchairs that were in the center of the room with a small brown coffee table and fireplace in front of them. She didn't know why she loved them so much, but the massive sofas, armchairs and fireplace made the living room look so elegant, fancy and delightful. It was a lot better than her and her husband's much smaller house, in the heart of London. The size of this living room was easily the size of hers, her kitchen and her downstairs bathroom combined. The sweet delicious smell of freshly baked cinnamon rolls, Bakewell tarts and syrup sponge filled Kendra with delight. Everything smelt so amazing, so wonderful, and she never wanted to leave this home. She could almost taste the delicious sweet cakes in her mouth, and the taste of almonds lingered on her tongue. As Kendra sat down on the wonderfully soft armchair, she couldn't believe how much support and comfort they gave her. In her old age she needed as much back support as she could, but those so-called support chairs were always hard and awful. These chairs were heavenly. As Kendra waited for her friend, retired detective Jeff Long, to come in from the kitchen, hopefully with some sweet treats and coffee, Kendra couldn't help herself but wonder why he had called her. He was the lead retired detective on a cold case task force that solved London's strangest, weirdest and hardest cold cases, but Jeff hadn't called her for a while. That alone was odd. Hopefully, he was going to give her a new case today, and not tell her the task force was shutting down. Even the idea of it made Kendra shuddered. Since joining the task force she felt alive, and like she had a purpose once again. But if the news was to be believed, which when it came to police work it generally shouldn't be, the Met Police were shutting down tons of vital operations because of government cutbacks. Whilst the task force wasn't paid, Kendra knew it wouldn't matter if the police commissioner wanted to cut costs. After a few minutes, Jeff, wearing his more casual black jogging bottoms, hoodie, and old people slippers, walked in holding a tray of coffee. Kendra felt herself frown as she realized she wasn't going to get any of those amazing-smelling sweet treats. Maybe she'd have to bribe him later, so Kendra took the warm mug of coffee and held it tight in her hands. "Thanks for coming, Kendra," Jeff said, his voice tired. "No problem. You tired?" Kendra asked. "I presume you've been watching the news." "Of course," Kendra said, taking a sip of the coffee. Wonderful hints of bitter coffee, smoked wood and chilies filling her mouth. "Then you know the Met is suffering another round of government cutbacks. We're next on the audit, but I wanted you here for a case." Kendra rolled her eyes. One of the reasons why she loved the task force so much was because she didn't have to deal with all the Met's politics, procedures and paperwork. And now she was at risk of losing everything, all because some idiot politicians wanted to cut down on spending. Ridiculous. "What's the case?" Kendra asked. Jeff lifted up a cushion and passed her a file. Kendra opened it, and from what she was reading, she understood that it was something about a police complaint by a woman 7 years ago. That woman complained that she was arrested without evidence and doing nothing wrong, stripped, searched and mocked by officers, Jeff said. Kendra gasped. That was awful. No one should ever be arrested without cause, and they definitely should never be mocked during a strip search. Kendra had done a few in her long decades of service, and sure, some people didn't have the best bodies, but she never mocked them. She always supported them, and tried to make the process as easy on the person as possible. That's what good officers do. Kendra's eyes narrowed. Why's this a cold case? Shouldn't this have been referred to the policing watchdog? That's what I thought. The police commissioner said she kept it opened, and her predecessors refused to send it to the watchdog because there was no proof. And what's the point of ruining officers' careers because of one crazy woman? Kendra said with an edge. She hated that saying more than anything else in the world. It was one of the reasons she had considered quitting more times than she wanted to admit. All police forces were improving their attitudes towards women over the decades, but it still hurt. And it was still too slow for Kendra's liking. Kendra hated thinking about the abuse, sexism, and discrimination she had faced over the decades, just because she was a woman and clearly inferior to all men. At least Kendra got to arrest one of them, a long time ago. So the commissioner sent it to us. To what solve it? Kendra asked. Jeff nodded as he took a sip of his coffee. Then the sound of the front door opening echoed around the living room as a 70-something woman with long gray hair, a business suit, and high heels walked in and sat in the opposite armchair. Kendra smiled at the other retired officer, Patricia, as she set up her high-tech laptop. Kendra still had no idea how Patricia managed to work such tech. Kendra could barely work her new smartphone on a good day. "Hi Kendra, Jeff," Patricia said as she typed something on her laptop. Jeff said hello, and went off to get her a mug of coffee. Kendra really hoped he would bring out some of those amazing sweet treats. When Jeff came back, he gave Patricia her coffee and sat back down without any of the sweet treats in his hands. Kendra was not impressed, but she supposed she was here for work, not cakes. Sadly, the office's report states they were arresting a young boy who was walking home from school. He was constantly looking around and acting scared, so the police searched him, Kendra said. All three of them looked at each other. "Bit overkill, hun, for a scared kid," Patricia said. "I searched kids before when they were acting violent or like they were carrying drugs, alcohol, and weapons. Not scared." Kendra reread the report and almost threw it. I quote, "The black kid was clearly scared. Probably because he was involved in a gang, and the other members were going to knife him. Therefore we searched him to find a knife and stop him and his gang from killing any Londoners," Kendra said. Jeff laughed and shook his head. "They are the notes, right?" Kendra just shook her head. She could understand if these were the officer's notes because they were always less formal. But nope, that was the official wording of the report that was submitted into evidence against the kid. Translations, Huns. There's a black kid walking down the street. He must be armed. Let's search him. Kendra and Jeff could only nod. In the past 7 years, the Met might have gotten better and targeted a few less black people, but it was still a problem. A problem Kendra had been suspended for multiple times after being accused of arguing with a superior, racist officer. "One day it will get better," Kendra said. "What happened next?" Patricia nodded. Here." The woman was walking past, saw the kid was struggling, and started questioning the officers. She was arguing about the kid's rights, and he was apparently terrified at this point. Kendra could imagine. Searches were never fun to criminals, much less to innocent people. Then the officers arrested the woman for obstruction. Let the kid go but warned him not to come back. Then got the woman to the station, Patricia said. Kendra just shook her head. How the hell was the police meant to build good relations with any minority group if the officers kept warning them for no reason to stay away? "And next?" Jeff asked. "This is where the office's and woman's statements diverge, hun." "How?" Kendra asked. "Turns out the officers say they arrested her, found cause to do a strip search, found nothing, and let her go. Hun." Jeff shook his head and took another sip of his coffee. But the complaint said she was automatically strip searched, mocked, and even probed. Kendra gasped. That was never allowed without proper cause. No officers could simply probe a woman or man without concrete evidence that they could be hiding something. In her decades of service, Kendra had never ever probed someone. "This is an awful way to go, isn't it?" Jeff said. The other two nodded. But Kendra flicked through the report in her hand and there was nothing. Not even a real cause for the search. "Jeff, was there any investigation into the complaint? Maybe internal, watchdog, or independent?" Kendra asked. "None. It was buried." Disgusting. Kendra didn't want this to be possible, but it was. And now she had to get justice for this poor woman. "What about this?" Patricia asked. There was a court case where a judge ordered the Met to hand over all CCTV of the cells when the woman was arrested. Kendra leant closer. "And the Met wrote to the judge saying it was missing, probably misfiled, and it would take time to find," Patricia said. "Missing or deleted? And didn't the judge follow up?" Kendra asked. "No, hun. The complaint and event happened in 2015. The court ordered for the CCTV in 2017, and the order hasn't been followed up. Because the judge retired in 2020. Kendra didn't want to believe any of this. She knew on the whole the police service, judges, and the entire criminal justice system was amazing, and they always helped victims. But it was these minority of cases that really annoyed her. "You can access the database, right?" Kendra asked Patricia. Jeff raised his hand and waved it at both of them. "This is a bit different. The commissioner wanted us to solve it, and she really wanted it to point to." "You can't be serious. You really want us to not find out what happened to this poor woman because of what? The embarrassment it could cause the Met." "Kendra, if the task force is cancelled, our pensions go with it," Jeff said. "You know officers have had their pensions cut, mistakes made or other things because they went against the force. The commissioner could fight for all of us, but you know what it is to be a woman in a man's world. The commissioner is barely hanging on to her job as it is." Kendra nodded at that. She had met the commissioner a few times, wonderful woman, but she saw some of the abuse she got from her own officers. So many in the Met didn't believe a woman should be running it. A man would clearly be the better choice. Rubbish. But Kendra understood the risk. Yet she was a cop first, and she had her duty to do to the amazing people she served and protected. "Find the footage," Kendra said, her voice cold. Patricia looked at Jeff. He nodded. She typed in some stuff into her laptop and frowned as she placed the laptop on the coffee table and played the footage. It showed exactly what Kendra didn't want to see. The tall, beautiful young woman being dragged into the cells. The two officers checked if the coast was clear and cut her out of her clothes. Then one of them bent her over whilst the other probed her. And during all of this the officers laughed and mocked her body shape, her hair, and even her private parts. Disgusting. When the footage was finished, Kendra closed the laptop, placed her hands on her lap and stared at Jeff. "I know what you're going to say. I'll share the footage with the commissioner and," Jeff said. "Don't. I have a better idea, but I just need the laptop for a few minutes," Kendra said. "In private." Kendra didn't know if Patricia was about to have a heart attack with her deep breaths and bulging eyes. "Come on, Pat, wife got some treats in the kitchen," Jeff said, and off him and Patricia went. Kendra took the laptop and downloaded the footage of the attack. If there was one thing she knew roughly how to do on a computer, was send an email. She couldn't allow the commissioner to come under attack for the footage, so she had to leak it to the media. Sure, it could create a hellstorm for the officers, the Met, and probably the powerful people of the Met. But at least no one could bury it again, and hopefully the woman could find closure and justice in that. So Kendra sent the email to 4 different news agencies, using something called a virtual private network to hide her location, and she simply placed the laptop back on the coffee table. Now everything was in the hands of the media. A few hours later, Kendra was sitting on her cold, comfortable sofa that eased the pain of her back whilst her amazing, stunning husband was in the kitchen doing dinner. As Kendra licked her lips as she savored the last remnants of the sugary glaze of Jeff's sweet treats, Kendra clicked onto the news and smiled. On every single media channel, the footage was showing the attack, reporting it, and now the two officers had been charged for assault, and they would face a disciplinary hearing. Then the reports showed the woman crying in happiness about justice being done, and that was strange for Kendra to see. Everything she normally did with the task force involved the dead or people who would never show her their appreciation. But seeing an amazing, resilient young woman crying was touching. Kendra realized her work really did make an important difference in the world. Then the police commissioner was on the news demanding for change, how she was going to transform the police and do people like that woman proud. Kendra knew it was mostly lies because the powerful men in the police would never allow it, but it was good to try. Sometimes even trying made a few simple changes that would benefit hundreds of people for decades, so maybe there was some hope. As Kendra looked at her stunning husband coming in from the kitchen with 2 glasses of red wine, she couldn't believe how lucky she was today. She had solved an impossible cold case. She was going to enjoy the love of her life and brought justice to a victim. And that was amazing to her. Because being attacked in the cells was an awful way to go.
Welcome back everyone, it's me again, Connor Whiteley. So I really hope that you enjoyed today's story, because I flat out love writing, creating stories and sharing them with you. If you really enjoyed today's story, then please remember to like, comment and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new content, and the engagement really helps the Whiteleyverse with the YouTube algorithms. And if you want to buy this short story or any of my other fiction, then they're available from all major ebook retailers, and you can get them from your local library if you requested, and you can order the paperback copies from Amazon, your local bookstore or local library if you request it. Lastly, if you want to support the channel on a one-off basis, then you can now buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Connor Whiteley. Also, if you know anyone who would enjoy today's story, then please share it with them. I'm always really grateful when you wonderful people help us spread the word about the channel. So, thanks for watching the Whiteleyverse, and I'll see you again soon. Have a great day, everyone.